crypto schemes going. And crypto, the people who get in early and then the ones who get out, they keep their money or they make a bunch of money. Everybody else, there are the suckers. It's all crypto. There's a lot of Ponzi going on. Ponzi schemes are where the early investors rope in suckers, take the suckers' money, and then bail out, leaving the suckers with nothing. And that's where Trump is setting up to do to hundreds of thousands of investors.
No, I saw another person has come back, and hopefully he's got his camera on and he can give us a response because I don't think he was a Trump supporter, but I know he was definitely one of the conservatives. So I did see that Lee Newton Rhodes, who has actually run for president in the past, was in the building and everything like that. Unfortunately, his device is not connected, so maybe he'll get the device connected and we can hear from him. It's been a minute since we've heard from him and everything like that. It looks like their lawmakers are bracing for a DHS shutdown. So this was reported 2 hours ago, and House Democrats are helping Mike Johnson in the government shutdown and fund DHS and ICE. But it still seems like it's going to be inevitable, at least from what some people are saying. So what is our thoughts? Is the government going to shut down again? I thought that he had signed a deal not that long ago to put like a partial shutdown that ended as Trump signed a package securing back pay for furloughed feds. But it looks like
because they've only had a temporary deal in place. And somebody was given statistics on government shutdowns. 61%, I think, of all the shutdowns, the days that the government's ever been shut down in history, have been under Trump. The longest shutdowns and the most shutdowns have been under Trump because Trump can't govern and he can't keep it. Oh, I want to talk about one more scam. So Peter Thiel, this billionaire tech bro, is trending on X because he's in the Epstein files. Not everything in the Epstein files is about raping underage girls. Peter Thiel is emailing back and forth with Jeffrey Epstein about causing societal collapse in the U.S. so rich people can buy up more stuff.
Speaking of that, I did see. Speaking of the Epstein files, I did see another release of a news story yesterday where I think it was Patel, who is involved in law enforcement, was saying that there is no credible evidence that Epstein himself trafficked minors, and that's what something that he said in a Senate testimony.
These jackoffs, including the guy who's currently in charge of releasing the files, Todd Blanche, said repeatedly on TV in the past couple of days that it's not illegal to party with Jeffrey Epstein. And I guess in a technical sense, that's right. You can go to Epstein Island and you can sit next to a pool, but that's a terrible freaking attitude for supposedly the chief investigator into these offenses, to give people a blanket, saying, yeah, we're not going to look at what happened because, it's just partying. These guys are not serious people.
Well, speaking of serious people, there was a attempt on Trump's life back in 2024, and it looks like the person that had that attempt is going to be sentenced today for his attempted assassination at a Florida golf course. So Ryan Ruth will be sentenced today, and I guess the U.S. prosecutors are seeking a life sentence as opposed to the death sentence or something else along those lines. So we'll see what kind of sentence he gets and all along those lines. So whatever our thoughts around
I don't think he didn't take a shot at Trump, right? This is a different guy who was found waiting in the bushes with a gun, I guess.
Yeah, I think that's the same guy. Exactly.
All right, so I don't know. Can you get a life sentence for just even if you don't shoot it? I don't know.
And we got to get Nick to come back in here and tell us what you can get in law enforcement. Law enforcement, by the way, is saying that ICE and DHS are making policing worse. So this was reported in the Bulwark, and even the Minneapolis police chiefs are condemning ICE tactics. And an ex-police chief, Art Acevedo, says that ICE agents are poorly trained or supervised and are acting unconstitutionally. So there is some pushback from law enforcement.
Yeah, cops don't like ICE when they act like amateurish jackasses, because it makes people more distrustful of cops. There are more there are more than 1 million cops in the U.S., and most of them care about their job and are not Yahoo pieces of crap, and they hate when the Yahoos sully the public's idea of all law enforcement.
Speaking of sullied ideas, by the way, Lee Newton Rhodes is saying he's listening in the background. Maybe he'll give us some input in writing if he doesn't want to appear on screen, but he is listening, and he is a past member of the network and everything like that in terms of being a regular panelist. But Sasha, apparently U.S. brokered Ukraine-Russia peace talks are beginning in Abu Dhabi. So they're saying that this is going on even though there were those massive strikes on Kyiv earlier today and everything like that. So is anything going to happen in these Abu Dhabi talks and everything like that? So some people, even in Politico Europe, are asking, is Putin ready for peace? But apparently they are resuming talks after a huge attack by Moscow. So it doesn't sound like they're still going after the energy grid and other things. So what's your thoughts on what's going on in these peace talks in Abu Dhabi?
Okay, it's very important to understand that there is only a small portion of the talks is about the peace between Ukraine and Russia. There are three different tracks. One track is indeed talk about possible peace between Ukraine and Russia. And that track is not doing really well. It's going a little bit back and forth. The territorial question is unresolved. The guarantees to Ukraine unresolved and not formulated, not agreed upon. But there are two other tracks which are doing very well. One track is a personal division of Russian wealth, minerals and others between Trump and his family and friends, and Putin and his family and friends. That one doesn't have to do anything with United States or Russia itself. It's a completely different track from the peace track. And the third one, less significant, is Russia is trying to fix a relationship between US and Russia. And what they're trying to do is to have more diplomatic representation in both countries, to have airfloat flights, and maybe not only airfloat, between United States and Moscow, and some other initiative, less significant initiative. So that one is going back and forth. But this is a problem for Trump, is that he cannot finalize his second and third tracks before he will finalize the first track, a peace between Ukraine and Russia, because he may not be understood by American people while there is still a war and Russians are killing thousands of Ukrainians, women and children, and destroying Ukrainian infrastructure. In the meantime, Trump is doing all this geschäfts with Russia. But on the other hand, let me tell you something. So far, Trump was very successful in doing anything what he wants in the United States, both in domestic issues and international issues. The Congress, the Senate, who's supposed to resist and at least to somehow stop him, they are lying down, spreading their legs under Trump. That's all what they are good at. They are stooges who are complicit and allowed Trump to have a fascist republic in the United States. That's what's happening here, and I don't think there is a remedy unless people will understand what's going on and will rise to resist it.
I want to correct something I said earlier. There are not more than 1 million cops in the U.S. There are 700 to 800,000 cops in the U.S. the number of cops dropped during COVID by maybe 4%, but we are back up to the highest number of police officers ever in the US, which makes sense because our population keeps growing. But defund the police did not actually defund any police departments. We have a lot of, maybe we won't have enough law enforcement, but, we haven't defunded them. And also, for every cop in the US, there are 4 people selling nudie pictures on OnlyFans.
That is very true and everything like that. And Rick, I know that there have been efforts even here in Durham to recruit cops by having bonus packages. That's been one of the jobs that I have seen people being asked to apply for, just like I've seen bonuses for bus drivers. So yeah, some of these jobs that were cut during COVID, they are trying to come up with bonus packages. And
but imagine trying to recruit cops to your department in the current era where people are it makes it tougher. ICE's misbehavior makes it tougher when people see how much hate the ICE officers are drawing up in Minneapolis from their behavior.
No, there's no doubt about that. By the way, I saw that New York and New Jersey are in the news for apparently they have sued the Trump administration over a tunnel funding halt. So Gateway sues Trump administration over freezing Hudson River tunnel funding. So I guess they were trying to fix the Hudson River and the Hudson River tunnel, and they had a lot of money. But they've now sued the Trump administration because he cut off funds for the $16 billion tunnel and everything like that, which probably would have improved transportation in that particular area. And your former boss was in the news and everything because apparently U.S. Attorney General Pam Bondi announces 2 more arrests in the St. Paul church protest. And Don Lemon says he offered to turn himself in, but federal agents were sent for him anyway. And a defiant Don Lemon appeared in New York days after his arrest. And one of the places he appeared was on Jimmy Kimmel Live. So he just appeared on Jimmy Kimmel Live and was saying what he had done and his reaction to the agents arresting him.
So, let me just say that Kimmel and Colbert, these late night hosts, they don't want to be political. They never wanted to be political. It was in late night. You don't want to do you don't want to come out like Leno. Nobody ever knew which way Leno voted, Republican or Democratic, because you don't want to alienate half your audience.
Yeah.
But
I looked at the Don Lemon case. I don't know if that's a case or not. And the thing is, these things have a way of backfiring. In other words, somehow they got a grand jury to indict him, but I haven't seen any of the evidence. But if you look at it from just a normal standpoint, if a reporter goes along with a group of people that are entering a church for whatever reason, it doesn't necessarily mean that they're guilty of, frankly, anything except reporting. So I think that that's a real tough case for the government. I'm not even sure why they brought it.
Because Trump is said his second term will be about vengeance.
Well, speaking of vengeance, I'm sure. Hold on a second.
You're not going to see him survive his term.
No, but speaking of vengeance, I'm sure that Trump is going to go after Biden again. And the reason he's going to go after Biden is because apparently Jill Biden's ex-husband is facing murder charges. So he's accused of killing his current wife in a domestic dispute in Delaware. So I'm sure that Trump will find some way to flip this around and turn this around on Biden himself.
Yeah, but also let's not give a pass on all these protesters, because a lot of the protesters out there, at least the data I've seen, they're not nice people. They're like Republicans. They're like the January 6th group. They go out and they want to create a lot of problems. They spit on the federal officers. They throw things at the federal officers. They yell at the federal officers. You're not talking about the best and the brightest and the nicest people in the world. And their idea of peaceful protest doesn't exist. So I can't give them a pass. But I also can't give the ICE a pass either, because you've got a lot of untrained people there. I mean, that gun should have never been discharged in Minneapolis ever. Now he might get off.
Discharged, and like I said,
or he killed Alex, whatever his name is. But Alex isn't a nice guy, but you don't kill him.
So let's go back to Don Lemon for a sec. Don Lemon reporting from inside that church, repeatedly said on tape, he's not a protester, he's there as a reporter. So you
that's what I'm saying. It's a tough case for the government.
5 judges and prosecutors turned down filing charges against Lemon because they looked at the case and said, this case will not fly.
It won't fly. Hold on a second. I want to give this something for Sasha and everything, because there is a major issue that is going on that deals with Russia, but it doesn't necessarily just deal with Ukraine. But the last U.S.-Russian nuclear pact is about to expire. So it's going to end a half century of arms control. And there is a fear in the world of a new arms race as U.S. and Russia nuclear weapons treaty is due to expire. So companies prepared to let go of the arms control with Russia. So are we going to see a buildup of arms by both countries? And are we going to see another arms race, Sasha? What is your take on this? Because this is something.
Good question mark. Question mark. Got it.
Yep. Sasha, any take on this?
You're muted.
Okay, you're muted, Sasha.
I don't think there will be hardly any arms race between U.S. and Russia because at that time Soviet Union in 1984, 85, 86 was trying to do arms race with the United States when Ronald Reagan had a program of Star Wars, and we know the end of Russian efforts. So this time will not be much different, except that this time Russia will not even pretend to have any arms race or so on. So with this agreement or without this agreement, very little change, because any side that would like to exercise the opportunity of a first strike can do so with or without agreement. So I really don't understand what this agreement is all about, because if both sides will refrain from starting the nuclear exchange, so that they don't need agreement. On the other hand, if they want to break the agreement, they don't need the disagreement is null and void anyway, even before it's been signed. So I really don't understand why this agreement is really needed. Maybe I'm wrong, but that's my opinion.
Yeah, appreciate that.
Here's the problem Russia has, Sasha, whether they like it or not. I know that Putin is very powerful. I mean, he pounds his chest a lot, but it's their economy. You're looking at France's economy. Let's take a look at France. Their economy values around 3.16 trillion to 3.36 trillion in GDP. Now, 3.1 to 3.6. Now let's look at Russia, 2.1 to 2.5 trillion. Okay, Russia doesn't have an economy. Seriously. They're not. That's the reason I agree with David Walker. They are not a superpower. They are a tiny little country with a bunch of nukes. That's it. Other than that, they don't. We spend more, almost half of their GDP on our military alone, the other half on debt. They're not even close to the United States. So he can't get into a war of building nukes because we'll annihilate them. If we can't annihilate them already.
Even the numbers that you quoted, 2.1 to 2.4.
Yeah, I'm just getting off of chat.
It's okay, that's okay, but that's highly misleading because most of it is the building of war equipment, tanks, the artillery shells, the others that are disappearing. Okay, you build, you employ so many people, you pay salaries, you pay material expenses, and then, okay, what's the result? Whatever you produce is being sold anywhere? It's bringing you profit too? Absolutely not. It's just going to the front lines and being destroyed in about 10 to 15 minutes. So it's the same misleading as the number of GDP growth in the United States, 4.3 trillions, right? It's a bogus number. It's zero at the best, because most of it, if it not all, is AI trade. Is the one company invested in another, like, okay, NVIDIA, supposedly investing $100 billion into AI. Oh, yesterday there was an announcement It was letter of intent. That money did not change places and so on. And now is now looking for alternative investment. So there are a lot of deals. Okay, Trump signed deals to bring investment in the United States of $17 trillion. Oh, really? A fraction of that ever came to fruition and landed in the United States? No, it was nice sort of issuance of intentions to invest $17 trillion. Come on, what a bogus claim. Another absolutely idiotic, same as the GDP growth of 4.3. So listen, people are taking so much, but while it's true, there is a sucker born every minute. I totally agree with that. But you cannot fool all the people all the time. There will be election a few months later, and I think independence will decide this election.
I want to go back to the nukes. Like each side supposedly has about 1,700 battle-ready nukes, which is probably not true because the cost of maintaining just the nukes we have in the U.S. is $95 billion a year, like 1/10 of the total defense budget, a ton of money. And it's likely that a lot of the not that you need 1,700. Russia, the cost is $8 to $10 billion just to maintain the existing nuclear weapons. Probably hundreds of those nukes, maybe more than 1,000 of them on each side, are in a state of disrepair. But as far as investing in new nukes, I don't think there's a big push. Each side has a ton of them.
Yeah. And I just don't think Russia can keep up, at least my experience with them. First of all, I thought the third biggest city was Stalingrad, Volgograd. It's Novosibirsk or something like that. Some city in the middle of Serbia,
And if you look at what scares other countries, it's not more nukes or new nukes, it's new delivery systems. China's always saying we've got
hypersonic delivery systems. Yeah, but see, Russia just frankly doesn't have a lot of people. When Dr. Sharif gets on, Bangladesh has a bigger population than Russia. They don't have a lot of people. They don't have a lot of big cities. They don't have a lot of big manufacturing base. They don't have a lot of hardly anything. And so defeating Russia for the United States should actually be a pretty easy proposition, except they have the nukes. And I think we're not afraid of beating Russia. We'll beat them really bad. We're afraid that they will nick us on the way out the door. That's all.
Nick, to beat Russia, you don't need United States. You don't need Europe.
Oh, Europe could beat them.
All you need is Ukraine. Ukraine is screaming Russia on a battlefield. They are killing, and the goal now is to kill 50,000 Russians a month. They're around 35 to 40, but that's not enough because Russians are recruiting every month, say around 30,000. So if they will be recruiting 30,000 and they would get killed 50,000, that math will not be suitable for Putin for a long time, because somebody one day will ask Vladimir Vladimirovich, what's happened with our people? You already have well over 1.25 million killed. What are you doing, my friend? So that day is coming.
So Russia has about 144 million people and declining. They're only making 70% as many babies as they need to keep a steady population. 144 million is like 45% of the US population, maybe smaller. And nobody's immigrating to Russia. So if Russia didn't have a ton of nukes, if Russia wasn't belligerent, we'd flick them away.
Yeah, that's right. They're punching way above their pay grade.
China has 10 times the population of Russia.
Yeah, the country you have to be concerned about is China. I mean, if there's any country that actually has an ability to be a world power and take over, is China. They have the population, they have the technology, they have the work ethic. They have a manufacturing base. I mean, they have everything to move into the #1 position, and they're smart, and they're very astute when it comes to dealing with other countries. So I think the country that people have to be concerned about that becomes the global power in the next 10 years isn't Russia. Russia ain't gonna do
Hey,
anything.
speaking of Russia, apparently the Nazis are back in the news, and it's because of a bank. So I was wondering if y'all heard about this, but hundreds of Swiss bank accounts with suspected Nazi links have been found by investigators, and this was reported by the Wall Street Journal. And apparently they're doing like a whole investigation on Swiss banks and Nazi money. And I thought that they had not had that much money and didn't think they had that much power in anymore. But there is a rise in the right-wing politics, and I guess the Nazis are part of that and everything. So what is our take on this? Because apparently they're doing a whole investigation where they found a bunch of secret Swiss bank accounts with suspected Nazi links.
Yeah, well, the thing is, they used to have what they call numbered accounts in Switzerland. And then what happened is the OECD and put a lot of pressure on them to disclose who the ultimate beneficial owners are of the Swiss bank accounts. The Swiss didn't like that because they couldn't grab the money if they had to disclose people. And I had to do some settlements. There was a few tax litigation work I did to get some of my clients who had undisclosed Swiss bank accounts that they weren't paying taxes on. It's called tax evasion. But it wouldn't be surprised me because that certain of those banks are still keeping their relationships close to the vest over in Switzerland. You know, Switzerland's kind of a.
This story says they found 890 accounts that they hadn't found previously that were started by the Nazis, 80 years ago.
And then they still exist.
And that money, there was a previous settlement in 1999 that cleaned out a lot of these accounts and gave 1.25 billion to Holocaust survivors and other heirs of victims, because among other things, the Nazi regime was a theft regime. They stole, the Nazis.
They stole anything.
The Nazis killed, not counting deaths in battle. The Nazis slaughtered 11 million people they didn't like, but before they slaughtered them, they took their assets.
Right. Yeah.
And that's all sometimes they have it in the military and in various countries around the world. Hey, this is for both you and Nick, because I know, Nick, you've I think argued against this, and I think Rick, you've actually maybe even argued for it. But Washington, the state of Washington, is looking at having a millionaire's tax. So it was officially proposed yesterday, and it's going to bypass the voters. But Ferguson won't support it. I think that's the person in charge of Washington and everything like that. But they are unveiling a Washington income tax on people earning over $1 million. So what's our takes on this idea of this tax that maybe if it takes place in Washington, this millionaire tax, it'll spread throughout the rest of the country and people have to pay this money.
California is looking at the same thing.
Yeah. First of all, Bob Ferguson, who's he's actually the governor of Washington, has been on our network before. Okay. But here's how he got on the network. You'll love this, Mark. Bob Ferguson used to be the Washington State chess champion. No kidding. Okay. So he got on with Elliot Neff, and we did a little interview with him when he was the Attorney General of the state of Washington. As a matter of fact, if you go look through our archives, you'll see Elliot playing Bob Ferguson a chess game. Of course, Elliot wins, but Elliot was the U.S. Open speed champion back in the year 2000. So he was a really good player. And Bob Ferguson was a lawyer. He went to law school, and then he became Attorney General. Now he's the governor. Passing the millionaire's tax is not unusual. It's the Americans don't understand it. In Spain, they have a wealth tax.
A wealth tax.
I mean, where you live, you have to pay not much, but like 0.25% to, 0.3% or some garbage like that. You have to pay some money, basically, if you have a net worth exceeding a certain amount. So the United States is one of the places where they do not have a leveling device. It's just really stupid. So that's part of the reason 40% of all the money is in 1%, and half the population only has 1% of the assets. So you guys are really a third world country when it comes to wealth distribution. Spain's not like that.
I just looked up the plan, and it's not even a real wealth tax. Where
What
you
is it?
get, it's if this legislation passes, it's a 9.9% income tax on any earnings you make above $1 million.
Yeah, right. It's okay. So it's an income tax. Now realize though, here's the thing: Washington historically does not have an income tax like Florida and Texas, and so when we do pensions, it's harder for us to do our pensions in Washington State, Texas, Nevada, and Florida because there's no state income tax. Our friend Bill Gates' father, when he was at Preston Gates and Ellis, was behind even Bill Gates to pass this style of tax. They said, the millionaires need to pay more, but believe it or not, it was defeated. So it would not be surprised because there is a big element. It's kind of weird. Seattle has an element of progressives, but they also have an element of, we don't want to pay any taxes. And they get behind it, and then all of a sudden they don't. Because the fear is these people are going to pick up and leave the state of Washington. In other words, you're making over $1 million a year, and you're Jeff
And
Bezos.
by the way, speaking of Bill Gates,
By the
Bill
way,
Gates
Jeff
is in the
Bezos
news
talked
again, but this time for not a good reason. I know that sometimes Kim comes in talking about the Epstein files, but apparently even Melinda French Gates is saying that those were a painful time in her marriage, and I think there was even charges of possible drug overdose when she was going through some stuff with Bill Gates and everything like that. But even the Telegraph is saying Bill Gates must answer to the Epstein allegations, and his ex-wife is saying that as well. So it looks like there's not the greatest friendship among them, meaning Melinda French Gates, who I believe went to Duke University and everything. But it looks like they are going to have this conversation because there's even in the Epstein files, they're saying Bill Gates caught STD from one of the Russian girls that was there, and then he sought an antibiotic for his ex-wife Melinda after he got infected.
Maybe.
Yeah.
I mean, there are no solid. Anything solid has been redacted, and what you have are a lot of the things in these files are lunatics calling into the FBI with crazy stories.
Yeah, but it does call into question this. Why would somebody with Bill Gates's, intelligence and his financial acumen even associate with a guy like Jeffrey Epstein? What is wrong with these people?
You got another person that is associated with the president of the United States and everything like that, and they are now going to do a alternative Super Bowl. So, Jacoby, what are you thinking about this? Kid Rock is going to headline the alternative Turning Point USA halftime show.
I don't know why we're switching from Epstein to the alternative.
Well, because they're on the same level. In other words, Epstein
that's not really the same level.
And your Bad Bunny are kind of like on the same level.
No, it's not. Bad Bunny is an American citizen, so I don't know why you're saying it's on the same level.
Wait a minute! I'm still American citizen, so I can.
But
I
in
can slap
terms of
the
the
bunny
Epstein
around.
stuff, the reason you had asked the question of why would anybody like a Bill Gates, that is for Bill Gates to answer. That's what he may have in his background and what he dealt with. So when we're trying to analyze why this guy would hang out with this guy or party with this guy, because what they're trying to do now, because the FBI director or the individual who's now on TV trying to explain it away and sanitize it, because now the excuse is just partying with Epstein doesn't mean that you did anything wrong. Okay, well, the thousands upon thousands of email or being named in the files thousands upon thousands of times, that's a problem. That's not just partying with somebody. Bringing up, did you see this photo with Mamdani and his mom at Epstein? That was AI generated, and now you get into these excuses. What needs to happen is more information. The stuff needs to be released and stop all the extra antics of trying to. We're only focused on the Clintons because if you look at how the handling of it, well, there's no crimes to be had. Then why are you focused on bringing the Clintons to a trial if you come out as the FBI director and say that there's nothing in there to charge anybody. Yet you're going to have these individuals on trial now because you're going to potentially charge them. So you can't have it both ways. And using it as a political football is very distasteful, especially for what's going on. So I guess getting back to why would this person hang out with this person? Well, maybe we should question that person then and get those answers and find that out. Like Trump being named over, what is it, 3,000 some odd times in the files released. Well, maybe we should question him. If you're going to question Bill Clinton because you think Bill Clinton did something wrong, maybe we should question Trump. Also, the lawyer that's involved. How did Epstein get this sweetheart deal? Let's question these things. So that's the problem with what's going on. It's politics and trying to win political points. No, it's a serious issue.
Definitely a serious issue.
Here's the thing here the Washington Post, one of America's great papers, has just fired 1/3 of its staff.
Wow,
and
a third of its staff?
It's owned by Bezos, the same guy who spent $75 million. He can, on the Melania documentary, he can afford to do that, but he can't afford to keep people reporting the news.
But then Bezos also fired because he also owns Amazon. Didn't he fire a bunch of people for Amazon as well? Because he's been on a firing tangent lately, if I remember correctly.
I don't know, but I mean, he's got rid of all the sports reporters. So he
got rid of the sports reporters before the Super Bowl.
He got rid of entire departments.
Before the Super Bowl and the Olympics and everything. And by the way, the Olympics are coming upon us. Hey, Nick, do you have any contacts with any former Olympians so we can get some coverage like we did 4 years ago when we had those volleyball players? And I think there was another player that was connected to Duke that you knew. Maybe you know.
No, our sports and entertainment channel is suffering. Everything else is doing well. We're going to have to discuss that. I think Sasha has a comment, though.
Yeah, go ahead.
I have comment about what just Jatovi raised a minute ago. In a present setup where Trump is controlling everything what's happening in politics in the United States, all the way 100% through his cabinet, through congressmen, through the senators, through all that. And that machine will destroy anything what is rising against it. And not destroy just politically, but sometimes even physically or otherwise. So all you have to do is abide your time until midterm election. And that's in certain scenarios, situation will be very different. And then American people will be able to have access to justice and to do something what will not be a very happy situation for Trump. Until then, there is nothing absolutely could not be done.
Yeah,
and Sasha, you're spot on that he is definitely trying to destroy anything. People, he's gone after individual YouTubers. There's actually a guy that there's actually a YouTuber guy. He goes to different rallies. He's actually, done all the reporting, and done jokes. And I forget his name. I'm trying to remember his name. I think it's Matheson or something like that. Mm-hmm. But he's been sent a letter saying that he's about to be arrested like Don Lemon. Wow. So yeah, he's going, especially after the independent individuals, because if he shuts them down, they don't have anybody to back them like he went
after PBS, he went after the Corporation of Public Broadcasting and NPR, he went after a number of other things. He closed down the Lincoln Center for 2 years and everything like that. Okay. There is a popular show that is on doing a revival. It's on revival and everything like that. And I would be not surprised if he finds a way to shut it down, because one thing that Sesame Street and the Muppet Show were known for was some of their political commentary and everything like that. So I would not be surprised if he does not find a effort to shut down the Muppet Show, even though they are in the middle of their revival and everything like that.
So the name, what you just named, were all small entities. Mm-hmm. All small entities that were also controlled, got money from the federal government. All small entities, though. PBS, NPR, all these small entities. That's what he's doing. And he's attacking these smaller ones that cannot attack him now. Because what's the old poem? We can go back to they went after this. They went after this. That poem is happening right in front of us. He's going directly after these small entities. And once he gets all those small ones gone, who's left? Because they're not going to be able to protect the larger ones that are there. For example, you just talked about Sesame Street. Where is Sesame Street now? It's owned by Netflix. Guess who's actually on? Guess who's on? The government right now is questioning whom on an antitrust law? Netflix. Guess what the conservatives, or some of the conservatives, were concerned about? Not the antitrust stuff or the money or anything else. That is a legitimate oversight thing that they need to do. It wasn't that. Their questions were, the shows are a little too woke.
Right, and that was a complaint against the Muppet Show, which is owned by Disney.
Jim Eade, who's often on our channel, has started a new broadcast that's going to run 12 weeks, 12 episodes, called Roar, which is about, can you speak out? Should you speak out in today's environment? How can you speak out without having the Trump hammer come down on you?
Right.
So look for that show if you're wondering about what to do, and if you're nervous about speaking out on social media.
Yeah,
I mean, we're just in a bad time because of who we have in the White House and the cult-like following that he has beneath him. It just gets to a problem, and propagating his message because of the cult-like following. I mean, we've gone from being able to discuss particular topics to I hate you. That's where we've gone to.
Well, MAGA is gradually losing followers. But what that means is the remaining people, if the most reasonable remaining MAGAs abandon MAGA, then that means that the average level of dumb and crazy in MAGA keeps going up as reasonable people leave. And Trump only listens to, in his first administration, Trump had some people who would tell him no and would speak reason to him. In this administration, those people are gone. And it's all just people who will say yes to everything. And also there's speculation that they don't even tell him bad news, that they insulate him so he doesn't even have a realistic idea what's going on.
Yeah, there's a lot of people that don't understand, because apparently there's an anonymous NFL player, and it kind of comes back to what I think it was you, Jatobia, maybe you said it, Rick, earlier, that think the Super Bowl halftime performer should always be an American, as if Bad Bunny isn't an American. Last time I checked, Puerto Rico was in America and everything like that. But there's an NFL player that's remaining anonymous that is thinking that Puerto Rico is like some other country.
So that tells you essentially what the immigration policy is, what the backing that Trump got, a large group of that backing that Trump got believed this. Mm-hmm. And they believe it because why? He's not American because, one, the color of his skin, two, because he speaks Spanish. That tells you what the immigration call is.
Actually, coming back to Trump, the biggest challenge is for the Republican Party. They understand now very well what's going to happen in the upcoming election. Yet they cannot leave Trump. It's impossible politically, because then it will be the end of Republican Party for many future elections to go. So they have to stick together. Yet they despise him, they are scared of him, they hate him, and on the other hand, they cannot leave him either. So this is the dilemma of Republican Party, and hopefully this dilemma will be resolved in the upcoming election, when Republican Party will be decimated both in Congress and in the Senate.
So
I agree that that's a dilemma in the Republican Party, but the problem with the Democratic Party, they have no candidates. So, you know, that's part of the reason you guys lost, is that you just don't have any good candidates. They're all gone. So the Republicans.
Wait a minute. You're the one who said that you like. You're the one who said you like the guy from Maryland. And the guy from Maryland is running, or possibly running.
J.D. Vance will be the president in the next couple of
If
years.
you put up, now I don't know who else is going to run, but if you put up Gavin Newsom against Vance, Newsom wins. Vance is creepy. Newsom is, I talked to somebody who thinks that Newsom might be a little too slick. But I'm not sure that anybody has ever lost a presidential election for being too slick.
Hold on a second. Wait a minute, Nick. Wait a minute, Nick. What's the guy from Maryland that you said you liked? Because he's a front runner too.
That's Wes Moore. But honestly, Nick has a point. Nick has a very valid point. There is no candidate right now in the Democrat Party. The Democrat Party is still stuck in a battle within itself in terms of trying to figure out how to navigate this new political ethos. And that's what the problem is. And to top it all off, the Republican Party was able to and has always, because they have such a great messaging apparatus, and they always say the same redundant thing, and they have their group trained to, hey, I say this, it is true. And so because the Democrat Party doesn't have the messaging apparatus set yet, they don't have a dominant candidate that people are gravitating to right now. I mean, truthfully speaking, J.D. Vance has no shot. He really doesn't. He has such bad baggage, even in the Republican base. The only people he has are the Turning Point, or some of the Turning Point USA people, because there's that problem with Charlie Kirk's ex and him right now, which that whole messaging that they may be messing around has also caused a problem. And the fact of how he treated his own wife in front of the Christian right, that is a huge problem across the nation. So J.D. Vance has no shot. There are other Republicans that have a better shot, but Vance isn't one of them. But with the Democrat Party, they are winning. But the reason they're winning is because right now, Trump has really tanked things for the Republican Party. And that's why that in Texas, that Democrat won, is because the people are so pissed off and they see no checks on what's going on with Donald Trump. So honestly, if the Democrats were to have anybody with any type of gravitas and actually be able to stick on message, that's how they won on healthcare just recently. That's how, honestly, if they stick on the affordability and not get trapped in all this Spitfire stuff that Donald Trump does, they'll easily win. Especially, like I said, if they get a person with gravitas, yeah, they'll dominate the elections upcoming.
Right now, for Democrats, it's very easy to allow Republicans and Trump specifically just to keep destroying themselves on domestic issues, international issues, and all the way. Democrats, they have to be just be alive, just be around. They don't need to provide any special message or any strong candidates or just anything, because eventually people will come to the conclusion that anybody is better than Republicans and Trump and so on. They won't care. It could be Gavin Newsom, it could be your nephew, it could be just anybody but Trump and all his Republican friends.
I don't see Trump being president next year this time.
But hold on a second, you don't see him being president, but they keep shooting themselves in the foot. So that's why I don't see him being president, because it's the whole Trump clan. Because there's a very popular artist, whether you like him or not, that Laura Trump should have just kept her mouth shut, because now she's blasting Bruce Springsteen for speaking out because he has this whole Streets of Minneapolis song and everything like that.
Well,
so
what the issue is, people gravitate to Donald Trump because he is bombastic.
Yeah, definitely bombastic.
And they see him as authentic. And that's the key piece. It's not his populism that people supposedly fell for. No, he felt authentic around saying these populist things, even though he went against every little bit of the populism that he supposedly spoke for. But they're giving him the benefit of the doubt because he's authentic. How many times do you hear he says what he means? He's the most accessible president out there. All this stuff is BS because the man is lying directly to your face. But because he lies authentically, you're going to believe him. And that's what
he's very Machiavellian. Okay, so the thing is, it's, reward your friends, punish your enemies. And Dante Alighiero wrote The Prince.
Well, speaking of Machiavellian, because we're getting ready to get out of here, we'll have some more conversation on tomorrow.
It does not end well for the Prince because Dante Alighiero got kicked out of Florence and went to Ravenna and never came back. Just because he's Machiavellian and that's how he rules doesn't mean he's going to be around. So next year this time, I don't anticipate he's going to be in the White House.
So you think he's not going to be around in 2027 and everything like that? Just really lightly, and this will be one for Jacoby, since I know he follows the gaming world, not just the video gaming world, but the board gaming world as well. If you've got any nominations for a landmark, because every city, including Durham, because I've got the Durham Monopoly edition, has got its own edition of Philadelphia. So Monopoly is seeking nominations for landmarks to include in the Philadelphia edition of Monopoly. So if you've got any, send them your nominations. I'm thinking of the Liberty Bell for one, but there's ought to be several that if you got them, there's going to be a Philly edition like this, just like there's an Albuquerque edition and there's a Durham edition. Because I might be looking at it at my desk beside me and everything like that. So again, anything that you've got that you want to seek local submissions for the board space. So
I think there's a famous gay bar in Philly called the Black Banana. So that's my nomination.
That's your nomination, the Black Banana. Sounds good. You got one, Jacoby? Any famous places you got it in Philly?
No.
Okay, fair enough. I don't think Sasha's been there in Philly enough times. Maybe he doesn't have one.
No nominations for me, please.
No nominations.
I'll see you at 1 o'clock.
I'll see you at 1 o'clock with Modern Investment. We'll be talking about NVIDIA and other stuff, and maybe we'll hear more about Jim's new show that he was just talking about, or that Rick just talked about, and everything like that. But I'll see you at 1 o'clock with Modern Investment.
Yeah.